Elon Musk has always welcomed competition, and over the years, he's racked up quite the count of rivals in his quest to dominate space. We've all heard about the rivalry between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos. But did you know there's a new contender in town? Say hello to Rocket Lab. Welcome to Elon Musk Zone. When we think of the one company that has dominated the space industry game in recent years, we can't help but think of SpaceX. However, Elon Musk's lifelong dream has recently been up against fierce competition from other private enterprises like Rocket Lab in the race for space industry dominance. But before we get into the good stuff, let's get to know a little bit about both companies. Rocket Lab started in New Zealand and is now based in California. It's only second to SpaceX in terms of launch frequency. The Electron rocket from Rocket Lab has flown 18 times in less than 4 years, delivering nearly 100 satellites into space. They're a smaller launch company, often living in the shadows of larger corporations. But Rocket Lab is quickly edging its way into the big leagues. But what exactly is Rocket Lab, and what do they intend to do? Peter Beck is the real-life rocket man that founded the company way back in 2006. Rocket Lab is a space startup specializing in lightweight, cost-effective commercial launch services. The company is swiftly moving up the ladder and is making a name for itself. Oh, and also, did we mention that he's one of the few people who's not a billionaire to be doing this? Impressive, isn't it? Moving on, Rocket Lab spacecraft are constructed using a lightweight carbon composite material and are well known for their Rutherford engines. The Rutherford engine is the world's first 3D printed electric pump-fed engine capable of propelling a spacecraft into orbit. Lithium polymer batteries are used to power the electric pumps. Electron, a 2-stage small-lift launch vehicle built and operated by Rocket Lab, is often accompanied by 9 Rutherford engines on the first stage and 1 vacuum-optimized version on the second stage. The spacecraft is also often flown with an optional third stage, known as the kick stage, used to maneuver the satellites in space and send them into a circular orbit. The kick stage consists of a small restartable rocket engine called Curie. It took Rocket Lab a full 12 years to produce a large-scale orbital-class rocket. But today, they launch orbital rockets nearly every month and are trying to drive it up to a weekly basis. The goal is to make launching rockets into orbit as common as picking up your mail. And as surprising as this may sound, the company has made massive progress and is well on its way to make the dream a reality. On top of that, Rocket Lab is making a name for themselves in the rocket industry for their significantly inexpensive launches, costing only $7.5 million per launch. Now, that may not sound as cheap as you must have thought, but trust me, compared to other launches, it's impressive. A dedicated launch from SpaceX costs around $62 million. Unlike Rocket Lab, most of us are already familiar with SpaceX. We all know who Elon Musk is, the guy who founded PayPal, Tesla, Starlink. I think you get the idea. SpaceX was founded in 2002 with the ultimate aim of revolutionizing space travel and eventually transforming humans into multiplanetary creatures. This American startup has one clear goal: to colonize Mars. SpaceX was also the first private company to send NASA astronauts to the International Space Station. Previously, this work had been done in-house. The two companies are similar in a lot of ways, yet also different. Following the footsteps of SpaceX, Rocket Lab is the second privately owned rocket company in history to achieve orbit and successfully recover an orbital-class rocket, with the first being SpaceX, of course. Rocket Lab was able to complete the 16th launch of its Electron rocket off the coast of New Zealand, carrying 30 satellites into orbit for customers. But this wasn't any ordinary launch. The company was able to successfully recover the rocket's large booster section after it splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. Musk even congratulated the company on this achievement. Like SpaceX, Rocket Lab intends to make their rockets reusable and launch big payloads into space. But what's different is, unlike SpaceX, Rocket Lab focuses on small to medium payloads and a market that values speed and low costs. But now, Rocket Lab is on its way to challenge SpaceX with its very own medium-lift launcher. Meet Neutron, the company's newest creation. A 40-meter-tall rocket that can carry 20 times the weight of Electron. Now, those are giant numbers for a company that is comparatively a beginner in the industry. But why is the company making this giant leap, you may be wondering? It is kind of odd considering the fact that when Rocket Lab entered the market, Beck had declared that his $1.4 billion rocket company would never go to the difficulty of trying to recapture and reuse massive rocket pieces to save money like SpaceX does. Then he made an unexpected about-face by inventing a rocket that could do both. But it's not so odd when you look at the context. What would you do? What would you do if you knew that the future of the launch industry lies in the constellations? Wouldn't you want to create a bigger rocket to become a player in the market? That's exactly what Beck did. According to Beck, satellites destined for constellations will account for 80% of all future launches. While Electron placed tiny satellites in precise orbits, Beck knew that he would need a larger rocket if he wanted to compete in the constellation satellite market. Since Beck broke his stance and went back on his word, he did the unthinkable. He ate his hat. Literally. Beck pulverized his Rocket Lab baseball cap in a blender, poured it into a martini glass, and then drank it. You cannot deny that this man has major guts. The creation of Neutron puts Rocket Lab in direct competition with Elon Musk's SpaceX in the race to make launches more affordable. In order to understand the ideal size of a new rocket, Beck examined the history of previous launches and discovered that the average payload size for all rockets was around 4.5 tons. When you compare this to SpaceX's most commercially successful Falcon 9, it could lift as much as 22.8 tons to low Earth orbit in fully expendable mode. In addition to the new machine, Rocket Lab also completed a transaction with Vector Acquisition Corp. If the deal with Vector goes through as planned, Rocket Lab will receive $750 million in cash and be valued at $4.1 billion. Rocket Lab intends to utilize the funds to build a new rocket factory in the US and launch Neutron by 2024. So far, Rocket Lab and SpaceX have coexisted peacefully, with little head-to-head competition. SpaceX's Falcon 9 can deliver 50,000 pounds to orbit, and unlike Electron, Neutron puts Rocket Lab in much closer competition with SpaceX. The 131-foot-tall rocket is expected to carry 18,000 pounds into space. And just like the Falcon 9, it will be reusable and capable of carrying humans. Rocket Lab has declined to reveal how much the launches might cost, and so far has only revealed the drawings of the Neutron rocket. But the drawings were so similar to Falcon 9, even Musk couldn't control himself. Looks familiar. Nonetheless, the right move. Congrats to Rocket Lab, Musk had tweeted. Rocket Lab has already made massive strides in such a short amount of time, and we can't wait to see what's next from him. With his involvement in the giant rocket game, it seems like Beck has slowly followed the footsteps of Musk and is now doing everything in his power to try and top SpaceX. From making plans to launch satellites weekly to creating cheaper rockets, it is likely that Beck is afraid that Musk might win the race for space industry dominance. Even though SpaceX might be a few steps ahead in terms of experience, you can't deny that Beck has what it takes to be in the big league. Do you think Musk will stay at the top forever, or do you think the underdog can catch up with him? Let us know who you're rooting for down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications for more. Thanks for watching Elon Musk Zone. See you on the next one.